Hey everybody, Stephen Michael here, back with another NAB report, and I have made my final decision on which camera I'm taking, whether it is the Sony ZV-1 or the Panasonic G7. Let's go through the pros and cons, starting with the Panasonic, and let's just talk about the pros. This is a micro four thirds sensor, so you are getting a much bigger sensor in here. The display screen, this is touchscreen. You have all the controls you could possibly want. This thing is fully manual. I can control this to my heart's content. The other thing is changeable lenses. While the lenses do make this camera heavier, I like the fact that I can swap out my lenses in case I want to take some pictures at NAB. I could swap out for a longer lens. Again, controls fully manual. I can control everything. Also, I have a familiarity with the Panasonic menus. Having started this channel on the GH4, the menus are incredibly similar, and I really like the menus. I'm really used to it. Sony menus we'll get into, but they're convoluted. Let's see, I can add a top handle or any kind of bracket up top to add what I need. That's the Rode Wireless Go, and a light. And the app is pretty darn good for this. There's not really a lot of lag in the app. I've used it before, and I don't need a cage. And if I do need battery power, yes, this doesn't have the, I can't power this via a power pack, but I can pack a whole bunch of batteries. Not really worried about that. I can get a whole bunch for super cheap. So those are the pros. Now the cons with this is I am going to need a variable ND filter. I actually sold mine. I didn't realize it. So I thought I had the VND, but I don't. So I'll have to get VND, no big deal. It's a little bit extra money. This thing is bigger and heavier with the ZV-1, especially when I start adding a heavy lens and a top handle and everything else. This thing goes between like just under 2 pounds to almost 3 pounds, which is a little heavy. Is not the thing I wanted to carry around with me on the showroom floor. I wanted something almost as light as my action camera. However, the weight does feel good in my hand, so if I do add a top handle, it allows me a little bit of weight to really control the camera. And again, there's a 30-minute record time limit. I did do the video last week on how to jack that. I will be doing a test to see how fast I can smoke this thing out now that I can record more than 30 minutes on it. And the autofocus, people give these cameras a bad rap for autofocus. I don't think the autofocus does such a bad job. Also, I'm gonna have this attached to the phone app, so I'll keep peeking on and I'll be able to adjust it via the phone app, so I should be fine. Everything will be controlled by my cell phone. So that's it. And again, there's no power bank. I can't plug in like a little credit card size power bank and power it. That's not a big deal. So those are the pros and cons of the G7. Okay, now let's talk Sony. I had a lot of high hopes for this little camera. I am tremendously disappointed in this camera. Now, let's talk about the pros. It has built-in ND. You don't need any lenses. It has a 24 to 70 millimeter lens built in. It's small, it's light, it has a crisp image right out of the box. Great autofocus, it's new tech, app controlled. But that's kind of where the fun stops. There are a lot of pros to this camera. I will mention the 3 major things why I wouldn't even recommend to anyone buy this camera. It's so bad. First is if you look at the battery door here, the battery door has to go beyond the quarter 20 mounting point. So if you mount anything to the bottom here, you're not going to be able to get to not only your battery, but your SD card. Right there, that is a no bueno. That is a red flag right there. You will need to throw this into a cage. So that is the first major thing wrong with this. The second major thing wrong with this is not a touchscreen camera. This is 2021 Sony. All this does is tap to focus. So you just tap something and it'll focus on it. And while that is fantastic and the autofocus in this is fantastic, I'm still stuck pressing these tiny buttons with my big meaty fingers, and it makes it very hard to control the camera. Plus, you are getting a 1-inch sensor. So this is has the same sensor as my action cam. So you're not really getting any great quality. The picture looks pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. It looks fine, but again, it's a 1-inch sensor. The other thing is accidentally hitting the buttons. Now I was testing this thing for heat, and when I came back to it after 12 minutes, I'm not sure whether I accidentally hit the stop button, but it had stopped recording, and when I hit the record button, the overheating warning went immediately on. Now, I was powering it with one of these, and I did have the screen flipped open as well, and I was recording. And this, let's just face it, guys, this thing overheats in about 15 minutes. And I was also recording in S-Log3. I did change that. So this camera is very, very disappointing. The battery life is small. There is a remote, but it's sold separately. The Rode Wireless Go doesn't actually fit into the shoe. It only fits half into the shoe. It only has one level of ND, so it's either really, really dark or nothing. Again, you have less control because it's not a touch screen. If the camera shuts off before you hit the record button to stop the recording, you lose the entire file. It's not like the Panasonic where it'll save the file and then shut off. The menus on this thing are so long and convoluted, and the fact that you have to press buttons to flip through the menus constantly is just too time consuming. And also, it's Sony's kind of, I mean, the menus are better. This is the newer menu system, but it's still very convoluted to kind of find everything. This does run on battery pack. The app to this is very, very, very slow and janky. It does work, and it does allow you to actually control your exposure, which is interesting, but it is very, very janky. But overall, this thing is kind of a nightmare of a camera. This is not my favorite thing in the world right now. While I do like how small it is, I like everything that it does, the problem is I can't recommend this camera to anyone. Even if you were doing YouTube, even if you were doing products, this thing overheats in 15 minutes. It's pretty useless. So that's it. That is my decision. The Panasonic is going with me to NAB. So that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you think I made the right choice or the wrong choice, or if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the notes below. Sorry I can't talk. I need to have a tooth pulled. Yeah, that's it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to mash the bell button to be notified when we drop a brand new video. And feel free to use the links below as it helps out the channel. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and I'll see you soon.